Hi, just going to make a very quick video today. I don't have long again because Scarlett's home soon. So this one is going to be a very quick video on the Men in Black. I don't know how many of you have been visited by the Men in Black, hopefully none, but I know there will be some. Because you might not even know about it. And the reason I'm saying that is because I was visited by them twice that I know of. Once that I do know, that I did see them, that I saw them with my own eyes and I can tell the tale. And another time that I was told by somebody else they'd been in my house. Now I'll tell you about the second one. I got a phone call from my friend who lived just a few doors down from me, and she often used to drive past my house back and forth when she was going in and out. And she phoned to say, "Who was that? Who was that in your house?" And no one's been at my door. Yeah, there was. There was two guys at your door in black suits. No, it must have been for upstairs. It wasn't my house. It wasn't this house I lived in then. It was a previous house. And she said, no, they were at your door. I drove slowly past. I was coming home and I saw you at the front door talking to two guys in suits. And I went home, parked, and I went and sat at my living room window for about, half an hour watching to see if they were coming out. There was a big black SUV parked up, blacked out windows. It was a car. I don't know if you recognise the make of the car. She went, but I didn't think it was like, CID or anything like that. It's just because their suits looked to be like made to measure. Like they were a bit too fancy for anything that I've ever seen. And she works as a paramedic, so she works closely with the police and CID sometimes for different, what she's having to deal with. And she didn't recognise them. She went, it wasn't sheriff officers. She went, because, they were dressed too nice for that. She was, I didn't know who it was, so I sat in my window and I watched and watched. She was after about 40 minutes, they were still there, so I kind of went away, did some dishes, came back, looked again. I kept coming back to the window and looking, and the car was still there. And she goes, they were in your house for I think she was about an hour. And then she goes, I came back to the window, the car was gone. She went, but they were definitely there for 20 minutes that I sat watching, completely watching, and I was kind of hovering. I couldn't just keep sitting, I was expecting them to come out. She went, I had no recollection, none. And I'm like, you must have imagined it, and you must have imagined it, it can't have happened. And she was assured. She slowed the car down and drove slowly to have a good look at who was at my door. No, I did not have a Scooby, and that was quite frightening. Somebody who I've known for, since she was 13 and a half, I met her, and this was like when she was in her 20s, mid-20s. And I trust her, completely trust her. She won't be making these things up. And then it wasn't for a few months later, I got this, like a kind of one picture memory, like this flash in my head. I was like, oh, I remembered these two guys. One was sitting down on the couch. He was very pale faced. He had a white shirt on, and his hair was, I don't know, his hair seemed a little fair. He was in my peripheral vision, and I'm looking up at one standing who had dark curly hair, and he was reaching down with something towards my head, and I remember doing that and covering my forehead, and that's all I remember. It was like a picture, just one picture that I got, and I was like, was that when the guys were in the house? And then a few months later, my friend said to me, I had a memory of two guys being at my front door. She went, I just got this memory come back to me. They were telling me, what they said to me was, what the hell do you think you're playing at? And she was like, I don't know what you're talking about. And then they talked a lot, and then she remembers them saying, you're not going to remember this conversation. And they held something up to her forehead. And then right away she shut the door and went, I'm going to go and phone and tell Claire what happened. And as she went to get the phone, she said, she just kind of thought, oh yeah, you had to iron or you had to hoover or something, and started going off and doing some hoovering and didn't tell me. And she forgot about it for 4 or 5 months. Mine came back after about 3 months, but I didn't get such a clear video like that. I got just a picture, and we described the people. We both explained the people that we saw, and it was the same two guys. They must have been at my house and in her house. And I think all we were doing there was this. I mean, this was about, I don't know, 2011, 2012, maybe 2012. And we started doing the Truth Is Out movement. We decided that we were going to be doing our national travels, going to people, significant people, and telling them that you know, the truth has to come out now. You're going to have to speak the truth. Yeah, it's like verbal diarrhea of truth. You can't stop yourself. You have to just tell everyone what you know. And then, you know, and it was funny because a few months after we did that, I think one of the presidents who were in at the time, you know, Bush, I'll say his name, but he said, talking about 9/11, and he said the actors at one point in the news on the telly, and then he said something else about something about a conspiracy or something. And I think after that they've made out that he was having heart conditions, he wasn't well or something, and he was, you know, trying to cover up for it. But I was like, I know we went to him. I definitely know, and I know I've been to George Soros, I remember that. But it was funny, when I went to George Soros, he looked a lot younger. Now, I didn't really know what George Soros looked like. I don't really follow him much. I think he's one of the head honchos, but I don't follow him completely, so I don't really know what he looks like. And my friend went as well, and we saw him, and he looked so much, this younger guy with dark curly hair, and what he was wearing. And we actually had to go and look him up, Google him and look him up, what he looked like. And I'm like, no, it was a younger guy than that. So we went back and looked at old pictures, and he looked younger. It was exactly him, but when he was like in his 40s. It's like we went back in time or something to tell him. I don't know, it didn't work obviously, right? But anyway, we went back in time. It must have. Unless in Astro you all look like you're in your 30s, which is very possible because age is just part of the simulation. I'm going to be disturbed in a second because my daughter's going to come home. But the next one I want to talk about, there's more about Men in Black. I'll tell you about the one when they actually came to my door and I saw them. And it was a strange situation because they asked, I'd been training one of the girls next door, my son's friend, and she was only, I don't know, 10, 11 or something at the time, but she'd been seeing a lot of, she saw like little aliens running about, little greys, little munchkin things running about the place. So I was training her to go out in her mind, to, you know, to meditate, to get some clarity, and to try and control this, because she was seeing them at her school and they were really distracting, just to try and help her to close down that part if she didn't want to see it, you know, times when it wasn't necessary. And as I was working with her closely for a while, and then I got two guys come to my door. One was standing, she lived next door as well. One was standing at her front door with his back to me, and one was at my door. And I remember the eyes were really peculiar. They were like kind of milky blue. They were really peculiar eyes, really white skin. Guy had fair hair. And when he spoke to me, he spoke in this really, really weird voice. Because he said, you know, do you happen to know where Laura is? Like this, like a sing-song. I'm like, looking, they were dressed in black suits. I remember thinking, why would you be asking for my friends by her first name? You know, because that wasn't the girl I'm talking about, it was her mum. Why would you be asking for, you know, because they look like official black suits, you know, like could be sheriff officers who come if they haven't paid council tax, whatever, parking fines. But they would ask for the surname, right? They would ask for Miss such and such, right? They wouldn't say the first name. So I found that really bizarre. And the guy who was standing at their front door didn't turn around once. He just stood staring at the front door, like motionless. I'm thinking, well, if she's not answered, why have you come to me to ask where she is? You know, she's got an upstairs neighbour. Why not put a note through the door? Why come to, you had to go down the path and back up again to come to my house? Why come to my house to ask if I knew where she was? And I thought, I don't think they're actually coming to see her. I think they know that she's not in. I think they're coming to tell me, you know, because stop talking to the child. Stop educating her. I don't know, why else would they, right? Because then later on she getting visions about this energy, Sophia. And years later we found out Sophia is apparently the energy of Earth and blah, blah. I mean, I don't know what to believe, but anyway, I just wanted to say that quickly about Men in Black, my experiences. There's probably more, but would I remember? I was quite annoyed actually that they managed to make me completely forget. And I actually lost, me and my children and my friend and her children, but specifically my children, we seem to lose memories for over a year, 2 years of our life. There's things we can't remember. Like we look back and think, did that happen? Can't really remember that year. That year's kind of a blank. What did we do that year? You know. So I think that was removed. Everything I've been doing, or maybe I did something great and I'll never know. Who knows? But I just wanted to quickly make this video to explain the Men in Black. I'm going to be doing one on the Overlord next. Who is in charge of this whole simulation? And why they're scrambling to get these chips in people now. because the simulation's breaking. Anyway, namaste everybody. Hope you're having a lovely day. I'll catch you on the other side. Bye.